I just love the Fantastic Four. A story of four people, a family that were all fundamentally changed and chose to become heroes together. They broke the typical mold of heroes being independent and hiding their identities, working either alone or with sidekicks, and instead became a family of heroes that was well known by the public. They have their struggles like the typical hero, they fall and have to get back up, but they have each other to rely on. They started this wave of Marvel heroes in the first place, and they represent where Marvel has come from. Now, I love the Fantastic Four movies from the 2000s as much as the next guy, but admittedly they aren't perfect. But now, in a time where special effects have come so far, we should have no problem bringing these classic characters to life. But the Fantastic Four seem to be almost cursed at this point. Whether their movie doesn't get released, or it underperforms, or it's just plain bad from start to finish, the Fantastic Four have really struggled through their cinematic history. But now it seems that there was a real vision for a Fantastic Four movie that not only had a true family at its core, but paid respect to the team's origin by putting them in the time period that they came from. Marvel has sort of felt like they lost their way a bit, copying and pasting plots from film to film, but there have been diamonds in the rough, and this is definitely one of them. I think that Marvel might have just hit the sweet spot of great visual effects, well-written characters, and artistic vision to finally bring the Fantastic Four into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. First Steps is vibrant, it's flashy, but most importantly, it has heart. We've got a family of heroes who fight to protect us and help each other through the struggles of living life as Earth's sole protectors. We've gotten a film that not only brings a fresh coat of paint to the MCU, but shows the utmost respect to this family's history and what made them so fantastic. I had to say it, I'm sorry. When talking about the Fantastic Four, I think it's impossible to not bring up the past attempts at bringing them to the big screen. Film after film after film, it started to really seem like there was no perfect way to make a movie about this team. I really don't understand what the issue was. Was it too many characters for writers to effectively represent equally? Were their powers too difficult to adapt properly? I still don't really understand why there were so many unsuccessful adaptations for what should really just be a film about family, just with a lot more action and cosmic abilities. The closest that we've gotten was the 2005 Fantastic Four, which not only has some of the best casting for a comic book movie, but it has Stan Lee's favorite portrayal of a Marvel character for The Thing, and I think he's right. Michael Chiklis did an amazing job at portraying a man who had been so tortured by his sudden transformation, but ultimately rose above it to be a kind-hearted hero. He was able to be tough and rugged, while still showing that he goes through the same emotions as any of us. Along with him, Chris Evans as Johnny Storm was just perfect, with him being as cocky and charming as you would expect from someone like Johnny. And it's pretty funny seeing how Chris Evans went from this to playing the extremely wholesome Captain America. Ioan Gruffudd and Jessica Alba were also some spot-on casting, and they work well together in this film, though I will say Ioan is just the most accurate in terms of appearance out of the bunch. Now, when this film first came out, it definitely had negative reviews. Even now a lot of people don't like the film, but I personally enjoy it a lot to this day. It's simple, and I guess you could say cheesy at times, but for what it is, I think it does a good job, and I still rewatch it from time to time. Then we got the second film, which features this beautifully accurate looking Silver Surfer with great special effects, an amazing voice, and this is the Galactus we get. Just a cloud of gas. Well, at least the first film was pretty good in my opinion, and we got some really awesome moments with the Silver Surfer in that second film, but it just fell a bit flat for audiences, so that was pretty much the end for this cast. Now, no disrespect whatsoever to the actors for Fant Four Stick, but yeah, this movie's a bit of a stinker. Not only do we get the Thing that wears no pants, but this is the Doctor Doom that we get to go with it. There's too much buildup for ultimately not much to happen, and the characters all feel really different to their comic book counterparts. If you thought that the MCU adds too many pointless lines to their costumes, you're not even ready for these suits. To be fair, this film did get a lot of stuff cut out of it, which tends to be the case with a lot of movies that end up flopping, so who knows if another version of this film could have been full of interesting ideas and actually ended up being pretty decent. Still not thrilled about that design for the Thing though. And while I've yet to see the 1994 Fantastic Four film, I don't really think it can be placed among the rest, because really it was never even meant to see the light of day. I think that kind of sums up how Marvel has been handling the team for a long time, not even having enough faith in them to give them a proper film adaptation. The costumes for this movie being very comic accurate is great for someone like me, especially Doctor Doom's. I mean, it looks amazing. But I'm sure there's plenty of reasons we never got to see this be released officially to the public. But be my guest to check it out and let me know just how wrong I am, and I'll be happy to give it a chance. What I'm trying to get across is that these heroes haven't always been given the greatest treatment by Hollywood, whether it was no faith in the project, lackluster sequels, or there was too much left on the cutting room floor. We hadn't up to this point been given a proper big screen adaptation of this team. But once it was announced that we would be getting a new film featuring the family that had comic accurate looks, a great soundtrack, and finally a proper Galactus, I was beyond ready to see what Marvel Studios had ready in order to give the Fantastic Four the proper introduction that they've earned after all this time. The best thing about this movie is that the people behind it really put their all into bringing the classic Fantastic Four comics to life with this film. This year has been about comic book movies directed by people with a vision for their film. In this year alone, we've gotten Thunderbolts, Superman, and Fantastic Four, which have all been immaculately made and bring back different aspects of what makes superhero movies super, pun intended. For the modern MCU, I think that we can all agree that every new entry just feels sort of samey. You know what you're getting with every movie. You're getting some cheap jokes, some desaturated colors, and every now and then, nightmarish CGI. The MCU had started to fall into a pattern of producing what they think audiences want, when what we really want are fresh takes on beloved characters. Luckily, it seems that Marvel realized this, and they've been producing more projects with passionate people behind them, with this movie being a perfect example of that. We have yet another film made by people who care about the characters, who have an idea for how to put them under a different lens, and who invest in bringing the highest quality to well-written stories. So many of the visual effects and set design for this movie look like something straight out of Jack Kirby's original art, from 1960s Manhattan, to the Baxter Building, to Galactus' lair, and that whole sequence with the black hole. Everything is very reminiscent of the Silver Age of Marvel Comics, and it's so wonderful to see these classic visuals come to life. I'm so in love with the type of films that fully embrace a comic book style for their productions, instead of trying to ground these characters and their world when they have so much potential to feel like something ripped straight from those classic Marvel comics. I love the design for the Thing in this film, I love Galactus, Silver Surfer, I just love everything about how this movie looks. I just want to keep looking at all this. I get that in live action it's never going to be as whimsical as what an artist can put on the page, but I think the best approach is to try and replicate the more mythical aspects of these stories to bring these heroes to life. That's why I love not only the way that they handled the visual style for this movie, but also how they handled the main antagonists. Ralph Ineson's Galactus was only in the movie for a few minutes, which is really my only complaint about the character. They should have given us a bit more of him being really destructive. But he already proved himself to be so formidable, and he was actually a giant planet-eating cosmic entity instead of a storm cloud this time around. Even ignoring how well designed Galactus was for this film, his voice is just striking. You can feel how his booming voice rumbles in every scene he's in, and that's just Ralph Ineson's actual voice. He's arguably one of the best castings for a villain that we've had in a while. I really hope that we get to see more of him soon, because I need to see him really be in action and a lot more of a threat than he was in this movie. Julia Garner did a wonderful job making Shala Bal just her own force to be reckoned with, showing why she was Galactus' herald, but also giving her a human side. Her dynamic with Johnny also showed that she isn't just some heartless alien seeking destruction, but someone who could potentially be reasoned with. Also, she's just so cool. She rides a wave of lava in this movie, and I'm just a sucker for seeing the Silver Surfer actually surf. But what I think this film, more than any of the ones before, was really able to capture properly was each of the team members' individual personalities and their dynamics. Johnny and Ben have been done justice before, with Johnny being shown to be the impulsive, sarcastic lover boy who still manages to do the right thing, while Ben is the stoic, brave hero who can't help but be a bit bleak now and then. But what I feel hasn't been fully captured before is just how capable the two of them have always been. There's a reason why these two are such a great addition to the team, not just because their powers are incredible, but Johnny's not brainless. In this movie, he's literally able to decipher an entire alien language all on his own and then speak it. And Ben was literally a pilot for NASA. He's smart enough to work with all the tech that Reed has to offer, so he should be shown to be just as resourceful as he is freakishly strong. Sue and Reed are a different story because I feel like every adaptation has been so different. It feels like the writers focus so much on Reed that they tend to not even know what to do with Sue. Yes, Reed is a genius to the point where his intelligence gets in the way of his relationship, but he's also not oblivious and careless about his wife. He loves her deeply, but he tends to get in his own way, and she knows this. And Sue likewise isn't careless about Reed. She admires him and tries to set him on the right path whenever he isn't being mindful. The genius has his loving partner to bring him back down to earth as soon as he gets in over his head, and that's what makes them a perfect pair. Without a proper handle on these characters' relationships, the team can sort of feel forced together. But when the four really come together as a team, when each of them are written well and have proper representation, they really do all work as one whole, and it makes them a true family. Family is about fighting for something bigger than yourself. I don't think there are any heroes that could be better to represent this message than the literal family of superheroes. I think any one of these characters could be pretty interesting on their own. The Thing alone could probably have his own movie where he struggles with his identity. Johnny Storm could be the Spider-Man style hero for Manhattan, but what makes the Fantastic Four so special is just how they all come together to be something bigger than any one of them would be by themselves. Each of them has their own strengths and weaknesses, but together they're unstoppable. The whole world depends on them, and when they're faced with protecting everyone from a virtually unstoppable force, the only thing they could do about it would be to give up Susan's child to Galactus, which is completely out of the question for them. Obviously, Susan isn't going to give up her child to protect the world. That is her flesh and blood, her beautiful baby boy. It is an unthinkable act that would save countless lives, but that would come at much too high a price. But as the imminent threat gets closer, Susan appeals to everyone's sympathy, reminding them that they shouldn't expect any one person to make a sacrifice, but also that the Fantastic Four aren't just going to stand idly by. But along with them, she believes that the whole world needs to come together, the same way they did, as a family. I love how Susan has been given her time to shine in this movie. Vanessa Kirby does a great job at showing that Susan really is the heart of the Fantastic Four. She brings them all together and balances them out, but she's also able to bring the people of Earth together to save their planet, the same way that she does for her own family. It's about coming together to stand for something bigger than ourselves, like Susan says, and connecting. We have a team equally made up of people connected through family relation, romantic connection, and brotherly bonds. We have 4 people who faced a DNA-altering accident being forever changed, some with worse conditions than others, but all of them were turned into quote-unquote freaks. And regardless of that, they came together for a higher purpose. Franklin for this movie is a representation of that family and their purpose, of what they all fight for. He's not only what brings the family together from the beginning of this movie, but he is what the people of Earth can relate to the Fantastic Four through. They're just a family like anyone else, who truly love and care for one another. Not only is the love that this family feels for Franklin so strong that Susan is able to push herself to her true limits, but ultimately it gives Johnny the motivation to sacrifice himself for Franklin. But suddenly Shalabal makes the unexpected choice to take on the burden to defeat Galactus. She was just like any mother. She had a daughter, one that she was willing to give herself up for, but she became the person who let others face that same fate that she couldn't. The Fantastic Four showed her that they were a family that just like her cared for someone, that instead of giving up, chose to fight for that someone and for all the other people who cared for one another, and that changed something in her. She knew that Johnny was doing exactly what she herself would have done in that situation, but he didn't deserve that fate. She chooses to not only let him live, but in turn take accountability for what she's done and stop the destroyer of worlds once and for all. This whole film is about fighting for your family, fighting for the people and the things that you care about. Maybe there wasn't enough action in some places, and maybe we could have seen more of Galactus, but this movie made up for that with humanity. The humanity that each of us has in us to stand up for one another, to embrace what makes each of us unique, and help one another. Maybe the things that we're facing seem impossible to fight against, but we can give each other the strength we need. We can all look past our differences and rely on each other in our times of need. This film and Superman and other films like it have been bringing back that theme of hope and compassion for superheroes that I think needs to be more prevalent. These aren't just people to depend on, that we throw all of our troubles onto, but that inspire us to become better, to be hopeful, to be loving, to be a family. The Fantastic Four show us that we can be a part of something bigger than ourselves and that we should fight to protect the loved ones that we've got. The 4 of them are able to rely on one another not only for their own protection, but to save the entire planet against certain doom. As long as the writers continue to see that these characters all work together, that they really love one another, and that they use that connection in order to protect the people of Earth, we'll continue to have a team of heroes that feels truly amazing and fantastic. Despite the many years of Fantastic Four fans being neglected for a while, I think it's safe to say we now have a great addition to the lineup of Fantastic Four films. I'm giving Fantastic Four First Steps an 8.3 out of 10. Galactus was a bit underused, Mr. Fantastic had so much potential that wasn't really acted on, and I could nitpick every little thing about this movie, but it was a wonderfully executed movie that really did bring the comic book aesthetic to the max and ended up being a very pleasant surprise. I think we need more films that are directly inspired by the comics that created these characters in the first place, and fully embrace the superhero aesthetic that fans love in order to bring audiences something really great. I just wanted to take a quick second to thank you guys for the support on the new Superman video. I really did not expect it to get the attention that it got, so I really appreciate anybody who left a like, anybody who subscribed, and I hope you can stay tuned for any new videos that I make. Like this video, subscribe if you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments anything else you want me to talk about, anything you want me to review, make a video essay about. I appreciate any support in any way, so thank you guys. And with that being said, I'll catch y'all next time.